Good morning, everybody. So I am Jennifer B. Ahmad, one of the member of Group 1 presentator, and today we are going to tackle the entitled Ancient Time. So ancient time has 6 civilizations that time. So the first one is Sumerian Civilization, the second one is Babylonian Civilization, the third one is Egyptian Civilization, and the fourth one and fifth one is the Greek and Roman Civilization, and the last one is Chinese Civilization. And the next reporter will be tackled that.
So good day, I'm Bersa Patrice Carvajal and I am the reporter for the Asian Time. So what is Asian Time? Asian Time means belonging to the distant past, especially to the period in history before the end of the Roman Empire. So they believe that the ancient Greece and Rome were the vital sources of learning. So in the ancient time, there are in which people mostly concerned of first is the transportation, the communication, the weapons and armor, the conservation of life, the field of great engineering, and the architecture. So let's do the transportation first. So during the time in ancient Greece, the transportation was significant during the time because people were trying to go places and discover new horizons. They were concerned of the transportation is because it is a tool for them to trade their surplus, to search for food, and find better settlement. Also, in transportation, it allowed them to return home after their travel to the new places. They don't have a struggles because they have a thing that which carry them luggage, and then it's easy for them to travel. So the second which people mostly concerned of is the communication. So communication, it was essential to discover and find new places. They need to a way to communicate with the native areas for trading. Also, they need to remember the places they have been to and document trades they made. Also, but this badly needed the communication is because it is so vital for them to keep their record in history and so they can establish their identities. So good day, I'm Bersa Patrice Carvajal and I am the reporter for the Asian Time. So what is Asian Time? Asian Time means belonging to the distant past, especially to the period in history before the end of the Roman Empire. So they believe that the ancient Greece and Rome were the vital sources of learning. So in the ancient time, there are in which people mostly concerned of first is the transportation, the communication, the weapons and armor, the conservation of life, the field of great engineering, and the architecture. So let's do the transportation first. So during the time in ancient Greece, the transportation was significant during the time because people were trying to go places and discover new horizons. They were concerned of the transportation is because it is a tool for them to trade their surplus, to search for food, and find better settlement. Also, in transportation, it allowed them to return home after their travel to the new places. They don't have a struggles because they have a thing that which carry them luggage, and then it's easy for them to travel. So the second which people mostly concerned of is the communication. So communication, it was essential to discover and find new places. They need to a way to communicate with the native areas for trading. Also, they need to remember the places they have been to and document trades they made. Also, but this badly needed the communication is because it is so vital for them to keep their record in history and so they can establish their identities. So the third which people mostly concerned of is the weapons and armors. So weapons and armors during that time are badly needed because there are a lot of invaders. They need a lot of resources for them not to be invaded by others. So for security and protection, and for the establishment of new alliances, the stronger the nations tended to invade the weaker ones. So they badly needed weapons and armors is because secure for their security and safety. The Fourth one is the conservation of life. So during the ancient time, they don't have the tools what we have today. They don't have the medicines to heal the sick. And then it is a primary challenge they face because early people might have been successful in harnessing enriched resources that the world could provide, but their survival posed a great problem. So um people were concerned of the conservation of life is because they hunt food. It was like a battle between the prey and the predators, so they have a short lifespan. The fifth one is the field of engineering. So when they say the field of engineering, it is where the field allowed humans to build structures and will address their specific needs and wants. So some of the structures still exist today. So during that time, they don't have the tools of what we have today, and they don't have the machines to for them to make their work more easier. Yes, it is a concern people. It's because when they have the machines and tools for make their work easier, they structure they make a building that is fast more it's more early during the period of time. So the sixth one is the architecture. So architecture and engineering are just connected. The engineering are the one who make the buildings, and while the architecture is the one who designed the building. So it is a people concern mostly all because again they don't have the tools what we have today to make their work more easier, and then they don't have machines for them to make that exact design. Yes. So architecture, ensured in the introduction of this field. So again, engineering is the one who make the way to the architecture. So during this time, elaborate architectural designs were signs of technological advancement of a particular civilization. So the conclusion of this reporting is that science and technology brought a lot today. They allowed the ancient time to discover new things and then bought so exists in the present day.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Adria Atelio. I will be discussing the Sumerian Civilization. Sumerian Civilization is an ancient civilization found that in the Mesopotamia, known for their innovation in language, governance, architecture, and more. Also, their high degree of cooperative with one another and their desire great things. Sumerians are considered the creator of civilization as modern human understand it. Their desire pushed them to develop new or many things connected to S&T. One of Sumerian contribution is the cuneiform, the first writing system that they developed. It utilized word, pictures, and triangular symbols which are carved on clay using wedge instruments and then left to dry. So Uruk was of the most important cities in ancient Sumerian, and it is considered the first true city in the world. The origin of writing, the first example of architectural work in stone, and the building of stone structures which the ancient used to designate personal property as a signature on documents. Sumerian used the modern clay from the river mixed with reeds and producing sun-baked bricks used in housing that could protect them from the weather, and walls around the city to avoid wild animals and neighboring raiders from entering. The Great Ziggurat of Ur, also called the Mountain of God, was built in the same manner they constructed the city of Uruk. It served as the sacred place of the chief god and was dedicated to the moon god Nana, who was the patron deity of the city. And only their priest was allowed to enter. The temple showcased the elaborate and intricate Sumerian architecture and the remarkable technology to use it. Irrigation and dikes. Canal brings water to farmland and simultaneously control the river flooding. Sailboats. At the time the wheel was not yet invented, the main mode of transportation was through waterways, such as river and seaboats, were used to carry large quantities of products and were able to cover large distance, to able to make trade and travel large distance more efficient in fostering culture, information and technology. Wheel. The first wheel were not made for transportation but for farm work and food process. With the use of the wheel and axle, mass production was made easier. The plow enables them to dig the ground where seeds would be planted at a faster pace. As the plow breaks the ground, the farmer would just drop the seeds and the farm work would be already done. Roads. Sumerians developed the first roads to facilitate faster and easier travel. And road was very useful, especially during the rainy seasons when traveling on soft and muddy roads proved to be too difficult.
Good day everyone, I'm Jaima Fiabangan. Today I'm gonna report about the Babylonian Civilization. So the main city of the ancient Babylonian kingdom was called Babylon. The ruin of the city was built as a tiny harbor of the Euphrates River more than uh, 4,000 years ago and are found in the modern day of Iraq. So, the Hanging Garden of Babylon were one of the seven wonders of the ancient world as compiled by Hellenic culture, and they were described as a great work of architecture with a racing sequence of tiered garden with a broad variety of tiers, shrubs, and vines, and resembling a significant green mountain made of mud bricks and the Greek word of the Hanging Garden of Babylon was kremastos, which means overhanging, and is the source of the term of hanging gardens.
Ancient time Egyptian civilization. Another early civilization famous for its legacy located in North Africa. It is thus safe to say that the pyramids are not the only contribution to the modern world, but many more. Egypt also contributed the art of writing, literature, sculpture, and many more to mention. Paper or papyrus. Although Egypt was not the first to develop a system of writing, they were able to make writing easier for the world. Papyrus was a plant that grew abundantly along the Nile River. They were able to produce the plant in order to produce thin sheets on which one could write down things. Since papyrus was lighter and thinner than clay tablet, it was easy to carry and store. The ancient Egyptians used the stem of the papyrus plant to make sails, cloth, mats, cords, and above all, paper. Paper made from papyrus was the chief writing material in ancient Egypt, was adopted by the Greeks, and was used extensively in the Roman Empire. Ink. Egyptians invented ink by combining soot with different chemicals to produce inks of different colors. Ancient Egyptians began writing with ink made by burning wood or oil and mixing the resulting concoction with water. Typically, scribes used black carbon-based ink for the body of text and reserved red ink for headings and other keywords in the text. Hieroglyphics, a system of writing using symbols. They believed that the writing system was provided to them by their gods and still be seen today and remains to be as famous as the pyramids where they were found. Hieroglyphics literally means sacred carvings. The Egyptians first used hieroglyphs exclusively for inscriptions carved or painted on temple walls. This form of pictorial writing was also used on tombs, sheets of papyrus, wooden boards covered with a stucco wash, potsherds, and fragments of limestone. Now, let's proceed to cosmetics. Cosmetics functions in ancient Egypt for both health and aesthetic reasons. Egyptians wore kohl around the eyes to prevent and even cure eye diseases. They also believed that a person wearing makeup was protected from evil and that beauty was a sign of holiness. In Egypt, elite men and women enhanced their appearance with various cosmetics, oils, perfumes, eye, and facial paints. Both sexes wore eye makeup, most often outlining their lids with a line of black kohl. Next is wig. Wigs are used to enhance the appearance of people who are balding or those who want to try new hair trends. During the Egyptian times, wigs were worn for health and wellness rather than for aesthetic purposes. Wigs were used to protect the shaved heads of the wealthy Egyptians from the harmful rays of the sun. The Egyptian wigs are called Nubian wigs. It worn for health and wellness, not for aesthetic purposes only. And the last one is water clock or clepsydra. This device utilizes gravity that affects the flow of water from one vessel to other. In the process, it is for more exact measurement of time. The ancient Egyptians developed a water clock made from stone, copper, or pottery. They invented it to record time during periods of no sunlight for sundials. Water clocks are one of the oldest time measuring instruments. It is used as a timekeeping device during the ancient period.
Hello everyone, I am Celine J and I will be talking about the ancient times Greek civilization. The ancient Greek civilization it was a period of political, philosophical, artistic, and scientific achievement that formed a legacy with unparalleled influence on Western civilization. In ancient times, Greek civilization. Greece is an archipelago in the southeastern part of Europe, known as the birthplace of Western philosophy. Some of the major achievements of the Greeks include in-depth works on philosophy and mathematics. More than the Colosseums and the Olympics, the Greek civilization has contributed much to the S&T. In the ancient times, Greek civilization, there are some things that are being invented and these things were even being used nowadays. The first one is the water mill. Water mill used in agricultural processes like milling of grains, which was necessary form of food processing during that time. And we all know water mill was being used before and even now. And water mills were considered better than mills powered by farm animals because they required less effort and time to operate since farmer did not have to raise animals. And they only required access to rivers or flowing water where a mechanism of a large wheel with small buckets of water attached to it could be installed. And the second one, in Greek civilization, the alarm clock was invented. One of the most utilized gadgets today that was invented by the ancient Greek. The purpose was just the same with the alarm clock of the modern. To tell an individual when to stop or when to start. This time, we'll be talking about the ancient times in Roman civilization. In Roman civilization, the Roman Empire was perceived to be the strongest political and social entity in the West. It was considered to be the cradle of politics and governance during that period. Because the Roman Empire was so large, other civilizations looked up to it as their model in terms of legislation and codified laws. In Roman civilization, there were also things that was being invented that was being and even used nowadays. The first one is the newspaper. Newspaper, yes. The first newspaper known as the Gazettes. The Gazettes contained announcement of the Roman Empire to the people. This way, the Romans enjoyed easy access to government information, the same way we benefit from present-day newspapers, bound books, or codex. This also, these things. Record keeping was much easier since paper did not easily break, was lightweight, and did not occupy much space. The civilization became fond of record keeping, events, and newly legislated laws. The next one, in the Roman civilization, there are the Roman architecture. Roman architecture, one of the most visual contributions of the ancient Roman Empire to the world. A continuation of the Greek architecture, hence the resemblance. And lastly, in the Roman civilization, this is the most famous the most being used that was being invented by the Romans in the Roman civilization is the Roman numerals. Romans devised their own number system specifically to address the need for a standard counting method that would meet their increasing communication and trade concerns. Thank you, that's all.
Hello everybody, good morning. I am Jennifer D. Ahmed and today I am going to tackle a report entitled The Ancient Time During the Chinese Civilization. So, Chinese civilization is considered to be the oldest civilization in Asia, if not in the world. So, according to the report or according to the research, Chinese civilization is the first and the old civilization in history. So, China is also known as a Middle Kingdom, and it is located far east of Asia. So there is a two production of Chinese civilization that is considered as a famous to their country. The first is silk. So the silk is produced by silkworms. You are familiar with this, but Chinese is very high-tech and they innovate a new idea by using a technology. So the silk is considered also to release a clothing and silk cloth like paper, silk paper and silk cloth like, yes, we are very familiar from it. It's because sometimes we saw in the social media mall radio about this silk. So yes, Chinese also develop this idea. So the next one is the tea production. Tea production is produced by shredded leaves, and after that it is a shredded leaves, and we are very familiar from it because there is a tea or a tea powder, which is to have a tea. You should have a boiled water and the tea. Yes. So the next one is the Great Wall of China, and it is very familiar from us because it is famous in the social media, in the Google, or in other area, and every people know this. So Great Wall of China is a handmade, yes, as you can see, it is a handmade, which is made by the people of the China, and during the civilization they made this. It is the only structure that can be seen in outer space. So according to the research, according to the report, they made this Great Wall of China because it was considered to keep out foreign invaders and control the borders of China. So yes, as you heard, they made this Great Wall of China to have boundaries in other places or in other foreign people. It's because, as we all know, the Chinese is very strict. And the next one that they implemented also is the gunpowder. So gunpowder originally, it was developed by Chinese alchemists when aimed to achieve immortality. So the gunpowder is made of charcoal, sulfur, and potassium nitrate. But instead of creating an elixir of life, they accidentally invented the black powder that could actually generate a large amounts of heat and gas in instant. So instead of making a gunpowder that is very useful to them, they accidentally make a black powder, which consists of heat and gas that can cause to kill person or can allergic to the person. And also on the other hand, gunpowder also is useful to the it is used also as a fireworks if they have a event on their place, like Chinese New Year or what, something very important to the Chinese people. And yes, that's all. The Chinese civilization is all about how they develop an idea or how they develop how they made this thing. And yes, as we all know that Chinese civilization is very old according to the research. That's all. Thank you. I hope you have learned I hope you have learned something about my report, and thank you once again. I am Jennifer Villaman.